Hey everybody, it's Mike. I'm out here in my garage again. I've been out here quite a bit lately, with the coronavirus. The office where I work, we've kind of implemented a policy where half of the staff works on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the office, while the other half works from home, and then on, let's say, Tuesdays and Thursdays, the other half of the staff works in the office on those days, and then it flip-flops every other week. So we've been doing that for about a month now. So that's why I'm out here in my garage. I'm actually on break right now. Just had some things that I was thinking about as I've been thinking about my scripture study in the Book of Mormon. And some things came to mind that I just kind of wanted to, just get out before I forget about them. And it's related to this law of warfare that the Nephites were taught quite a bit in the Book of Mormon. I don't have all the references from when I was studying, but it's really fascinating to me. I came across this a while back, and I started to notice a pattern in let's see here, Alma Chapter 48. There's a conflict, of course, between Amalickiah and the Nephites. Amalickiah was a Nephite defector. He was a Nephite, but he had rebelled and basically left the Nephites and went to the Lamanites and just tried to stir up trouble. He tried to stir the pot and just get the Nephites riled up and just cause all kinds of chaos and problems. And Captain Moroni, man, that guy was amazing, just to say the least. But there's a couple of verses I wanted to share here to illustrate this law of warfare that I discovered. In verse 14 of Alma chapter 48 says, "Now the Nephites were taught to defend themselves against their enemies, even to the shedding of blood if it were necessary. Yea, and they were also taught never to give an offense, yea, and never to raise the sword except it were against an enemy, except it were to preserve their lives." So, right there, they were taught to never give an offense. I thought that was really interesting, because I noticed in several other verses, throughout the Book of Mormon, that's pretty consistent. In the next verse, it kind of goes into an explanation as to why, what was the purpose of this law, and what were the benefits and the blessings. In verse 15 it says, "And this was their faith, that by so doing God would prosper them in the land." Or in other words, if they were faithful in keeping the commandments of God, that he would prosper them in the land, yea, warn them to flee, or to prepare for war according to their danger. And verse 16 also says, "And also that God would make it known unto them whither they should go to defend themselves against their enemies, and by so doing the Lord would deliver them." So, by abiding by this law of warfare, where they would never give an offense, where they would never provoke their enemies, they were blessed with that inspiration, not just protection physically as well as spiritually, but that it says that they would be warned when they needed to flee, and warned when they needed to prepare for war according to their danger, and where they should go to defend themselves. A lot of times, even in our day, where we come across trials and challenges, and even, in our personal lives, where we feel like we're at war with opposition, with the adversary, with whatever. It's amazing, especially when we're dealing with other people, to see how this law of warfare can apply in our lives. If we're not just trying to get revenge, if we're not trying to provoke somebody to anger, and we're willing to defend ourselves if necessary. And that doesn't always have to mean defend ourselves from bloodshed or anything like that. But in whatever conflict we happen to find ourselves, you can see in let's see here in chapter 49 of Alma. It says in verse 8, "But behold, to their uttermost astonishment, they were prepared for them in a manner which never had been known among the children of Lehi. Now they were prepared for the Lamanites to battle after the manner of the instructions of Moroni." So Captain Moroni, because he had instructed the Nephite armies in how to prepare for war, not just temporally, but spiritually as well, and not seeking revenge and not trying to provoke or stir the pot like Amalickiah was. That they were able to defend themselves, they were able to preserve themselves, and something really interesting is to see in later on in the Book of Mormon, as the Nephites and the Lamanites go back to warring, against each other in Mormon. So in Mormon Chapter 4, verse 4, the Nephite army is smitten by the Lamanites because the Nephites went up unto them to battle, and this was against that law of war established by God with Captain Moroni. It says, "And it was because the armies of the Nephites went up unto the Lamanites that they began to be smitten. For were it not for that, the Lamanites could have had no power over them." So that's something I thought was interesting. Just wanted to share with you about this law of war and not giving that offense.